And I found myself, as I was praying about this, thinking about that strange story of how I came to Christ Church Cranbrook. I think I thought about it because discernment to a parish was something that was on my mind for the past couple of weeks. You can all figure that out. And I came here after a beautiful, lengthy discernment that came to a head when the visiting committee came out to London, Ontario to visit and watch a sermon and to watch me celebrate. With such frail things, we make huge decisions, don't we? And I had decided to go back into the parish after spending about 15 years in academic ministry. I had been an administrator and a dean and a professor, and I had that classic moment in my life where I discovered this new desire within me. My priesthood suddenly became precious to me. And lo and behold, this place, Christ Church Cranbrook, wanted to send a group of people out to meet me and watch me and talk with me and to discern with me. On the search committee were Coco Seward and Tom Lloyd and Brian Sarver. Those were the three that came out to see me. And we had dinner the night before I was to preach. And at that dinner, for reasons I have never really figured out, maybe Tom thought he wanted to put everybody at ease, but Tom Lloyd told a dirty joke. And Coco gave him a look like she was going to brain him. And then Tom tried to talk her down, and he said, "Coco, Coco, Coco." That did not soothe her. And I thought, well, it's okay. We have the next day, and we'll have lunch, and maybe things will get better then. So that 8 o'clock service, which actually in the cathedral I was serving, this little inner city cathedral, it was at 7:30 in the morning because they're Canadians and hardy. I tried to be interactive with my sermon because I preach without notes, so I went down into the aisle and I was kind of working with people, and this person, this older woman who always sat in the front row, she came in late. She was upset with herself. She had one of those walker, and she was pushing it down, and she had her head was down, and she came in so furiously and so quickly, I jumped out of the way. And then she got to her seat, and she looked up, and she assumed that she had missed the service because she couldn't see me. I had been in the middle. And I thought, well, that's going really, really well. And Coco came up to me and said afterwards, "You handled that perfectly." And I was so comforted. She broke that plane in the discernment. And then at the 10 o'clock, you would think that things would get better, but they got worse. We had this person named Abraham who looked like Jack Sparrow, and he sometimes went through manic phases. And when he went through manic phases, he got to be a little bit out there. And so he was, as we were getting ready to process down the aisle, he was standing right at the crossing, and he was dancing and conducting the organ. And the dean of the cathedral, Kevin Dixon at the time, said to me, "Well, what do you want to do?" And then one of the vergers came up to me and said, "I know karate." I said, "Okay." And then he said, "We can call the police." And I said, "No, I don't want to go through it like this." And although I really felt God was calling me here, I just surrendered at that moment. There was nothing I could do, and I didn't want to do it any other way. And so I said, well, let's just trust the liturgy. Let's just process in, and maybe Abraham will get out of the way. And so we processed in, and Abraham sees us, and he dances to the side. And I thought, well, this is going well. And I sat down in the preacher's stall, and then he went out and started dancing in the middle of the aisle again. And I thought, well, this is not going to go well. And it was at that moment I saw all my dreams just slip away. I thought, this is going to be it. This is going to be the final straw. Completely disrupted service. And then behind him, there was this man named Charlie Crow. Charlie was little. He was thick. He swam laps every day, and then he worked in the soup kitchen, and he came and he would wear this one jacket that was dear to him. And he was English, and he loved being English. He loved being of the Commonwealth. And I saw Charlie get up and come behind Abraham as he's dancing. And Charlie went up to his shoulder. And I saw Charlie do something that seemed absurd and beautiful at the same time. He buttoned his blazer like that was going to be protection. And he swooped in underneath Abraham, and he put his arm around him, and he said, "Can I worship with you today?" And Abraham said, "Of course." And so they sang for a while the hymn, and as the hymn ended, Charlie turned to him and said, "And now's the time we sit down." And they went over and sat down. Charlie did not let go of Abraham the entire service. And we got through it. It was a Pentecost, and I was preaching a sermon, and I said that the sermon that the Holy Spirit was like the gift of God that comes to us sometimes as a small child. And I talked about a visit that I had made to South Africa, and when I was working in an orphanage in Soweto, and I had this little girl that I was supposed to mind. Her name was Mpo, which is Xhosa for gift. Spirit is the gift. It needs to be treasured. And then at the end of the sermon, I realized what Charlie had done. And I went up and I said to him, "Charlie, you're my hero." And then I wept. And I put my head on his shoulder. And I sobbed. And he said, "That's fine. I was happy to do it. It was the right thing to do." And then, strangely, Christ Church Cranbrook called me. I had been rejected from a much smaller church the day before. And I came and I was changed by the people that were here. And I see this all to you today because what I have discovered is that learning to be harvested is to accept your priesthood as a kind of mutual ministry. You will be shaped by the congregations you serve. They will be your teacher, as you were my teacher when I first came. They will help you grow into the person you are. And all of this, I think, goes with the grain of the promise we have in that image, that analogy. When Jesus says the harvest is plentiful, he's not really assigning roles, is he? Because we all get to be both laborers and harvest in this analogy. But he was saying that there is abundance. Never underestimate the people in your congregation who inspire you to be the priest you have been called to be. In 2019, I had this moment where I wanted to call Charlie to thank him because I was so grateful for him. And I found out that he, in 2018, after swimming his laps, had collapsed and died. So remember to say thank you. Because these people, these heroes, they're the people you serve.